Something's coming for us. It's coming out of the bushes. It's just a cute little squirrel. Hey, it talks. The little squirrel talks.
Aw, an imaginary talking squirrel.
Oh.
Ask the squirrel what it knows about the terrorist attack.
Wait a minute, the squirrel has friends. Oh, why it's a whole bunch of woodland critters.
Wait, woodland critters?
There's a talking bear and a beaver. They seem to be Christmas critters. Oh, hello. Yes, hi.
Get them out of there!
What?
Tell them to get away now!
What's the matter?
Oh, the cute little bear's eyes are starting to glow red now. Hello there, little animals. Do you happen to know how to hug?
Kurt Russell, what's going on?
They're raping me! They're raping me!
Get out of there, Kurt Russell!
They're raping all of us! Oh, it hurts! They're raping us and it hurts!
If your friends are nerdy and you are nerdy too, I want to talk to you. Friends talking nerdy.
All right, what do you got next?
So I was looking at a few of them that I had like pulled aside, and one of them I'm gonna probably have to pull a few because they're very, very similar. But you had shows like Street Sharks, Shaolin Showdown,
Hammerman.
What was it? Mortal Kombat Defenders. Like a lot of stuff that was like fighting
What?
or based off of video games.
Mortal Kombat had a cartoon?
Mortal Kombat had a cartoon. It was like 13 episodes. It was in the 90s.
In the 80s, you had a Rambo and RoboCop had cartoons as well.
Terminator. Terminator had its own cartoon for a long time,
Wait, what
too.
channel were they on?
I have no fucking clue. Because you had like weird shows that were like anime, kind of, but they were like the 70s and 80s anime, like Exo Squad, and like, I can't remember the weird show, but these guys had cars, right? And the cars turned into flying surfboards. This is fucking weird shows.
Just cuz.
Yeah.
It sounds like something on like the WB, because the WB had like that whole kids Saturday. That's where like Saturday morning cartoons came from.
So you would watch Saturday morning cartoons, but I would get so excited I'd wake up at like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. and you'd have these weird shows on.
Yep.
And, they were really, really good, but like they didn't have complete seasons. Like they were like, no one's watching this, get rid of it. And then they would just play it randomly on TV. But you had stuff that probably shouldn't have gotten like a children's show, like RoboCop, where it's like, we're in Detroit and we're killing people. I'm a robot. And then you had like other things like Voltron and Go Lion, or GoBots or Transformers. So these shows that had been around and were a little bit older, but they were really great cartoons. And you can say how they kind of got me into a lot of things that I liked, like robots, aliens, dinosaurs. And like you can see how these weird shows kind of like made the foundation of Sterling, because you had like Denver the Last Dinosaur, and they weren't quite 80s cartoons and they weren't quite 90s cartoons. Like G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe was a great show, and they had really good like team dynamics, and it was all about working together and learning a lesson and like weird shit like that. But I can't point at one specifically, And ladies, he's single. Yeah. But it was a different time. It was like the silver age of cartoons.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I prefer the Saturday morning cartoons as a kid from the 80s myself.
Like you had shit like Mask and what was that team? They were like a team of scientists, and they were like dressed up like birds. They looked like Power Rangers, but I can't remember.
I am so lost right now.
I mostly just watch Bugs Bunny. So.
Yeah,
It was they were actually in a video game for the Wii. It was Marvel versus not SNK. The show after it was about this kid who had a robot, and the robot was a lighter, and he'd throw it into the air, and it would turn into like a 50-story robot.
I feel like you're making some of these up.
I'm not. No. They're like old school Japanese cartoons.
But that's the great thing about these type of genre shows too, is that you have intense love for it, but the moment you have to sit back and talk about its premise, you realize how silly it can be. Like being a wrestling fan, when I'm in the audience, I love it. When I'm watching on TV, I love it.
Okay.
But if I have to sit back and talk about a particular storyline that's happening, that's when you realize, yeah.
So it's from an old school Japanese cartoon company called Tatsunoko, and they had where the fuck are they? God damn it! Go on to something else, but I'll try and find it because.
All right, what's your next one?
I feel like I should bring this one up because this one got a lot of comments in your post that you made on Facebook, but Captain Planet. Was that 80s or 90s though?
90s.
I would say early 80s, like 89.
No, 90s.
Okay.
90s?
I believe it came out in 1990.
I remember watching Captain Planet and thinking it was the dumbest cartoon ever.
Because it is.
I did.
Same thing.
I would watch it and I was just like, what the fuck is this?
We're going to protect the planet. Yay.
I was just like,
we're the Planeteers. You can be one too.
But now that I think about it, I'm just like, I feel like they should bring back Captain Planet now to have these kids watch Captain Planet to learn how to recycle and
But the problem with that show is the problem I have with a lot of stuff that's trying to teach a message, and that's they're teaching a message and not just making it part of that world. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why as a kid I didn't care for it. That's why I don't care for it now. Mm-hmm. The stories that end up meaning the most are the ones that can make points like that without, and learning is half the battle.
Yeah, G.I. Joe. Yeah. Pork chop sandwiches, anyone?
I feel like I should mention, since I mentioned Captain Planet, there was also those superhero cartoons.
Oh, are you talking about 90s Spider-Man and 90s Batman and 90s Superman?
I didn't like any of those. I watched...
Get out.
I didn't. They were so boring. They were boring and dry and bland. And every single time it came on, I would change the channel to something else.
I'm hiding my Superman tattoo.
But I really liked Static Shock.
Hell yeah.
That one was my favorite superhero cartoon.
Gotta move, superhero. Yeah. And season 2, Lil Bow Wow did the intro song for that shit. And you had people like Shaq on the show. And
hey kids, I'm Shaq. I'm here to save the day and throw some free throws.
He literally talked like that on the show.
I will defeat you, Mr. Bad Guy.
Stay in school, kids. I'm the Diesel.
Tux medicated pants for no.
I feel like that was my introduction to superheroes though, was Static Shock, because I was just watching Superman and Batman and Spider-Man, and I'd be like, okay, these are boring. And I see Static Shock and I'm just this is what I'm talking about.
And you had Rubber Band Man. Rubber Band Man literally was played by Rubber Band Man. With
that name though, I could just think of some guy oh my god, I need to think of a new character. Honey, can you get the laundry? Sure. Opens up. Static Shock. Yeah.
No, he was a really cool superhero.
Totally. And then you had more of a teenager focus.
Yeah.
So there was a character named Hot Streak, and he had an abusive father.
Yep.
And he had a temper. And then his power became fire, and it's just fuck, okay.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it got tied into the Justice League. So they had the Batman series come in. They had Justice League Unlimited have a crossover with Static Shock, even Superman.
Mm-hmm.
So you have these characters that they introduced that were actually very big diversity characters for DC, like Jaime Reyes as the Blue Beetle, Static Shock. Really, really great characters.
This isn't the 90s, but I also wanted to honorable mention Teen Titans.
Teen Titans?
Because that was a really good...
Honestly, that might have been like 98, 99.
It was 2003.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just looked it up because I was just like, I really want to talk about Teen Titans because that one was another really good like animated. Because I think the first episode of Teen Titans was like Robin and Batman having a conversation, and then Robin like going off to do his own thing, and that's how like Teen Titans started.
Well, that's the good thing about DC with animation, though. I mean, from day one with Batman the animated series, which is on my list, Superman on the list, Justice League, they really did introduce ways to tell stories that can bring in viewers from all ages. I mean, as a kid, you love seeing Batman kick ass, but the older you get, you see stories like they did with the Grey Ghost when Adam West, guest starred on there. That was amazing. And the two-parter they had that introduced the backstory of Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, that was sad.
That was a
really
good
sad
one.
Yeah,
and it may seem weird to people today, but that cartoon was mind blowing in a lot of ways because cartoons. I mean, I threw out a name, Hammerman, which was a cartoon based on MC Hammer from the early '90s. That's what a lot of cartoons were.
Yeah,
up until Batman the Animated Series, that raised the bar for quality cartoons that may not necessarily have to look good, but you can tell a quality story. If you tell a quality story, you can get past bad animation any day.
And they had an all-star voice cast with Mark Hamill, and like pulling from that, making like the most iconic Joker ever in that regard. He had the insanity laugh. He had this very weird turn from like very lighthearted and funny to like, I'm going to murder everybody.
And they didn't shy away from that either. They didn't do what they did in the Batman show from the 60s. And Batman show from the 60s was intentionally trying to be camp. They were trying to be silly like that.
Yeah.
But, it took about a year and a half for me to realize that it was Mark Hamill doing the Joker.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know. And it was just turning the channel one day to Headline News, and they had an interview with Mark Hamill, voice of the Joker. I'm like, Luke Skywalker? Shit!
Yeah. So I'm watching the show, and the credits come up, and my dad was like, "Oh, Luke Skywalker plays the Joker," and I was like, "What? Mm-hmm. No way!
He's a good guy."
Yeah, exactly. Oh man!
But DC is definitely at the forefront there. Marvel is, when it comes to animation, has always been hit or miss. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they will have some good ones, and sometimes they will be ones that you remember fondly but don't age well, like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Sorry, Maura.
Yeah, that was rough.
I liked the show at that time, but
it was super funny. The guy who played Iceman was Fred from Scooby-Doo. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good times.
Or
yeah.
All right. So I spoke of my list.
I've got one more because it's back to that company called Tatsunoko. They had the team that I'm speaking for is called Science Ninja Team Gatchaman. I think it was called. Yeah. Okay. It was called something else in Japan, but the character looked like this guy. So you probably seen him, but never understood it. No, okay,
no.
So you had a lot of these cartoons that had like the Power Rangers formula.
I'm just laughing at the title. It sounds like a racist came up with.
No, it's because they literally translated it to English.
I know.
Yeah.
So you have like Speed Racer, Voltron, this show, and it was very different because they were older. They were definitely older. Astro Boy. They were these very old shows, but I didn't see them until the 90s. And some of them were black and white or Gigantor, they have a cartoon show, and then within the cartoon show, they have another cartoon. It was very weird.
It will trip your mind, man.
But that was the actual first introduction to the production of anime, which was very interesting because they take a formula for a cartoon series, because most cartoons were about half an hour at that time. Mm-hmm. And back then, they were some of the first shows that were actually like linear in regards to story. Mm-hmm. And what they did was they developed how anime works. And it's like you have this intro song, and it's the same animation. You recycle that every time. And then you have the show with commercial breaks. And then at the end of the show, you have the next episode preview. And you essentially take a very expensive project that is animation and you make it very cheap. Because if you look about it, it was about $3,000 an episode. Mm-hmm. And what they did is they cut that down to about $500. And back in the 70s, that was really expensive. Yeah. And they found a way to make animation with good art very affordable. Because, you know, it was all written out by hand. Same, you know, Looney Tunes did the same way. You had to write it all by hand. And then you have to fill out this entire time. And during that time, Japan was going through, like, this strike with artists and writers and stuff like that. And it employed a lot of people. And it made a shit ton of money. And then it made the comic book industry in Japan explode. And then we got it poorly dubbed with the lip flaps. Did you ever watch like the first season of Digimon when it came to the U.S.?
Yeah, it was
and
terrible.
Their mouths are still moving, and like they've stopped talking, and their mouths are still moving. So this was when dub just was non-existent.
Yes.
So I'm just, you know, as a young kid, I don't understand why their mouths are moving and all this weird stuff, but I know giant robots, and giant robots fighting is the best thing ever. So it was a very weird company, and I didn't realize that it was not from the U.S. Like, I had no idea. Yeah. But I like Speed Racer. And it was like, hey, I have this robot car that shoots and does all this weird stuff. I have a pet monkey. My little brother's name is Spritle.
And we're Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah. But it was a great show. And it was, I feel like our generation had like the best time with cartoons, because we had like older generation cartoons like Transformers influencing newer shows. And then we get to watch our shows spawn new shows. And we just kind of get to stay with it.
And people, we got all the anime. Yeah, exactly.
And people aren't like, you're too old to watch cartoons. Like, it's the best. It's the best time to be alive. Yeah.
Now people say that, and it's really depressing. Because it's just like, you don't understand the feels. Cartoons are everything.
Yeah. Well, and that was the other thing, too. It's like, have you ever met that person who's like, I don't watch cartoons?
Yeah, and they like look at you so judgmental. They're just like, I don't watch cartoons, and you just feel your whole world just be like, oh, you're really boring. Then.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing too, is like if you look at someone who doesn't watch cartoons specifically because it's animated, their world is so much smaller because their ability to perceive shit is like one-dimensional. Mm-hmm. But, like, really, really think about that.
He's talking about the president.
No, yeah, right?
Probably.
Nah, you can tell that dude is, like, sitting in a bathtub watching, like, Looney Tunes and just farting in the tub and just, no. Like...
Having Hooker spank him with Fortune magazine.
And, like, piss all over him and shit. Oh, man.
Make America great again.
But, like, no joke. Like, that has always been a thing. Like, I'll be out and I'll be like, oh, man, I love Family Guy. And they're just like, I don't watch cartoons. And you're just like, I don't even want to talk. I don't want to breathe your air. Because I feel like I will get dumber.
I remember being on a date and, like... The person was just like, what's your favorite TV show? And I actually said a cartoon. Yeah. And they're just like, oh, that reminds me of something my little brother would do. And I was just like, so it's nice meeting you.
Apparently your little brother has good taste.
Yeah. It's like...
Do you have his number?
we're going to conclude this date. Like, nice meeting you, buddy.
And I don't fucking get it. It's like I don't read the funnies of the newspaper. I read the fucking business times, you know, like, and it's like, no, the Sunday morning cartoon panel, that shit's the funniest fucking shit in the world. And
that's where the Boondocks was.
Yeah, that's where the Boondocks started. And I don't even get how people are just like, I don't do animation. And I feel like that was the kid when they were in kindergarten who tried to learn to draw and just fucking couldn't. They're like,
just bitter.
Yeah. The kid who's just like stabbing at a piece of paper with a crayon and just is like, no, I can't do it.
He watches episodes of The Big Bang Theory and has to have it explained to him.
Yeah.
No, I feel like the world is a lot brighter with cartoons in it because there's just so many different stories and like so many different ways that you can animate it to be grander than if you were to portray it in television.
And I think now, because of the culture we do live in, animation does have something key that live action does not, and that's being able to tackle topics with characters that if it were done in live action, you'd be picketing that, like you know, Family Guy's notorious for that. South Park,
totally.
If
I can't believe we haven't even talked about South Park yet.
We were going to.
Yeah.
I mean, South Park, if you did that live action, I would watch it and I would have a good time.
Yeah.
But
you would be like, we can't have these children actors like running around with their dicks out, you know what I mean?
That is why whenever Hollywood does these anime live action show or like movies,
it
they
always
fail.
seems to go terrible.
Yeah, they fail. They can't do it right, and it's because like
Eric Quintus.
Anything like anime to I can go on a rant. No, fuck anime live actions. Like they are all trash. God. They are poorly done. Ghost in the Shell was garbage with a capital G. I will not be seeing that movie.
On the next episode of Fuck You Guys.
But like seriously,
I have a message for Hollywood. If you even touch Cowboy Bebop, I will write a scathing letter to you, and I will burn down Hollywood.
You didn't hear?
I know they're making a live action. It's going to be trash.
With Ryan Reynolds.
It's going to be trash.
Ryan Reynolds?
I'm fucking.
No.
The last time I heard that, they were trying to do it with Keanu Reeves.
No, just leave it alone.
Yeah.
Leave it alone because animation does not translate to live action.
It physically can't. It
literally cannot.
The only live action movie that I've seen that got close to cartoon-ish type stuff, Blazing Saddles.
I don't know what that is.
Richard Pryor was he was so fucking funny in it.
He was not in the movie. He was not in the movie at all. It was Cleavon Little.
Okay. I haven't seen that movie.
The only reason Richard Pryor was not the star was due to insurance reasons. With his drug habit the way it was.
Setting himself on fire and running down fucking.
Stars.
Yeah, and he was great about it too. I love the fact that he could find humor in anything. You know, like he ended one of his concert specials. You know, lighting a match. You know, what's this? It's Richard Pryor running down the street. But no, he wrote that movie. But the funny part is, Mel Brooks said that Richard Pryor made it his focus to write the Mongo jokes.
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, but Alex Karras as Mongo was great, but that was the only film that sort of got to the point of cartoon because they had
the sheriff took himself hostage. That shit made me laugh so fucking hard. I didn't understand it.
Lordy help me.
We gotta save the sheriff. Oh god!
Or the old lady halfway through in the middle of the night, she goes to the sheriff's office and gives him a pie, and thank you for that. Now you'll be a nice person and not tell anybody I gave this to you.
Oh wow!
Oh, man. Anyway, do you have another one?
No, I think I went over all mine.
Then I will go on with another one here. Why don't we mention
Wait, since we already brought it up, let's talk about South Park.
Yeah, I feel like
South Park.
That'll be its own episode, practically, but still.
Yeah, I mean, so many funny moments. I mean, talked about it a bit on the holiday special with Maureen Knoll with Mr. Hanky. Any Mr. Hanky story, I'm dying laughing, and when I don't care.
Those are my least favorite episodes.
I love.
Just so when I first watched it, I was just like, why are these people rubbing shit on themselves? What the hell?
I know, kids. I know, Mr. Hanky.
And the movie, you had the Mr. Hanky, the kids were putting together their own Mr. Hanky Christmas whatever.
They had a fake commercial.
Yeah, the fake
diarrheas.
Yeah. Oh.
The diarrhea.
No.
Yeah.
But they did other things too. One of my favorite episodes, Scott Tenorman Must Die.
Yeah.
Just the whole build-up. You didn't really know what was going on until the point that Cartman made it clear that chili you're eating, I call it Mr. and Mrs. Tenorman chili. And you're like, the fuck? And then he jumps on the table, I made you eat your parents. I couldn't breathe. I was laughing so hard.
But that was the turning point for that show, because they were just not only did we kill someone on the show, we fed it to the character. And it just opened up a realm of possibilities throughout the series that,
the Red Sleigh Down episode, love that. Anything with Butters, I love. Imagination Land.
Yeah, or what were the
best episodes that they did?
The Forest Friends,
Woodland Critter Christmas.
Yeah, and they're all they just killed one of their friends, summoned a fucking pentagram, and then they had the blood orgy.
They came blood orgy.
Yeah,
they came back from Imagination Land, and they had this whole bit of it was Cinderella, and they were talking about popping her eye out and then peeing in her eye to get her infected with AIDS.
Yeah. Just a whole nother level.
Yeah, but I remember when the movie came out. The movie, seeing that in theaters. That was amazing. The music. I mean, it started off with hokey-ish.
I think they were nominated for an Oscar for that.
They were,
yeah.
And that was the year that Robin Williams, the Blame Canada song, which was not the best song from that movie.
No,
I think the medley was my favorite song. But or what would Brian Boitano do if he were here right now?
He'd he'd probably kick an ass or two. That's what Brian Boitano do.
I want to sweet you. Anyway,
so I actually had to talk to my dad, because my dad saw that and he was talking about Brian Boitano, and he was like, Sterling, do you know why that is funny? And I was like, well, the song's really catchy. And that's funny enough for me. And he's like, well, Brian Boitano was in the Olympics, and he was a figure skater, and he thought he would just live off of endorsements. He was also openly gay. He got no endorsements. None. And they just shut his ass down and kind of hid him away from pop culture. And when they made this homage to Brian Boitano, I thought it was the best thing after knowing that. And were you aware of Brian Boitano or what he was famous for? No one was. And they were we're going to pluck this guy from obscurity and we're going to make a song about it. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, but definitely. And I remember when it first came out, that was in 96, 97, when I remember. I believe it was 97. I
think it was 98, because
97.
Wild Wild West came out, and that's actually how I saw the movie. I bought a ticket to Wild Wild West and went and saw...
I'm talking about the TV show.
Gotcha,
the
movie. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That's how I snuck into the movie. I literally bought a ticket to Wild Wild West and went and saw the South Park movie. Yeah.
I know the first episode that I saw, I just looked it up, is the Tom's Rhinoplasty episode. That was the season 1, episode 11, when there's a new substitute teacher named Miss Ellen. And she kept making Wendy Testaburger really, really jealous, because she was super attractive and super flirty, and it was making Wendy nervous because she was jealous that Stan was giving her so much attention. So she like tried to mimic what Miss Ellen like looked like and like how she behaved.
She got breast implants.
I think so. And then this is also the same episode where Mr. Garrison gets a nose job that makes him look like David Hasselhoff.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a tough brute man.
And then the end of the episode, I think Miss Ellen, like Wendy attaches Miss Ellen to like this rocket ship and like launches to the sun, and then she just looks at the camera and just goes, "Don't fuck with Wendy Testenberger." And I remember after seeing that episode, I was just
man.
what is this show?
Oh God.
No, but I remember when the show first came out, that was around the time that coffee shops in Grand Rapids were first popping up, because it was the 90s, of course. Mm-hmm. And there was this great coffee shop that every Wednesday night, the owners must have loved South Park, so they would record it on videotape, and they would just play South Park all night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So fucking ended up watching it, and it's funny. I mean, Family Guy, Simpsons, South Park all do suffer from the same thing of them not really hitting their groove until a couple of seasons in. Totally. Because I mean, I guess Trey Parker and Matt Stone right now have come out and said that the first couple seasons are just unwatchable, and I agree. But at the time, funny as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in 7th grade, and like every Thursday we would get this weird magazine in school, and it talked about like pop culture and like, you know, school stuff, hygiene, all this weird shit. And I remember it would be like, brushing your teeth. Are you using the right amount of toothpaste? Like stupid shit. But I remember like one time we got the book and they were talking about South Park, and I was like, why the fuck are they talking about South Park in this school book? They shouldn't. And it's an article about how they're removing Kenny from the series. Like there was a long stretch where they removed Kenny and they put in Tweak, because they were like, it's getting really hard to kill Kenny. We can't keep doing it. So it made news in this stupid school news article, and they're talking about killing a character over and over again, doing all of these weird things, and they thought it was funny because, like, you know, he would get impaled by flagpoles or run over by cars or struck by lightning or set on fire. And I thought that was so funny when they would kill Kenny, but it was like, it got old. Mm. And I just remember reading about it, and I'd never seen the show before. And I'm just like, why are they talking about this? Why? Why in school? Why is it in school? You know, they never had a thing about The Simpsons, because The Simpsons were around, and they were, I would say, a little more wholesome than South Park. But then they're like, okay. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to watch this show. So we had a video store, and they literally had every episode of South Park on VHS. And I would rent them every time we would go, and I'd watch it, and it was so fucking funny. Terrence and Phillip, and searching for treasure, and
Asses of Fire. Oh my god. Oh, and then Chef, even though he left under bad terms, you know. How do you make a woman like you, Chef? Oh, that's easy. You just got to find the clitoris.
I want my Salisbury steak. Fucking A.
Other ones we could throw up. My son would hurt me if I didn't mention it. SpongeBob SquarePants.
Was that yeah, that totally was.
That totally was SpongeBob.
Yeah. I wasn't a huge fan of SpongeBob, but I liked the flow of it. It just was always good. You know, like, hey, it's SpongeBob. No, it's Patrick. And it was so silly. It was a great...
I'm Squidward.
But that had a lot of the same things I like too, in terms of just how they would have one character to repeatedly do something just over and over again, to the point of absurdity.
They had really good music on that show. Mm-hmm. I remember my little brother was very into the show, and I took him to the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, and that was a great movie. They had wonderful songs. It had a great story. And then they finished the show off with the funniest song I'd ever seen, where it was like, I'm a Goofy Goober. But like 80s hair metal, like I'm a Goofy Goober.
You saw a song?
I watched them perform the song because it was a cartoon, and I was watching it. But I couldn't watch it that much. But my mom got it on DVD, and the first 3 seasons, and my little brother would watch it, and it was good. It wasn't mine. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
I really liked that show. It was so stupid that it was good. And, there's a lot of, callbacks, and, it's a really good show to make memes out of.
Totally.
They have so many funny moments.
I don't need it. I don't need it.
Speaking of that, another one that debuted in the 90s, first on the Dana Carvey show on SNL, TV Funhouse.
Yeah,
the ambiguously gay duo. That gave Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert their first
writing gigs.
Not writing gigs, vocals. They were Ace and Gary.
Oh, what?
You did not know that?
Holy shit! No, I haven't seen it in so long.
They were Ace and Gary. Yeah. So Robert Schmeichel was
ambiguously gay duo.
But they would goof on 80s cartoons. They had an updated Mr. T cartoon where Mr. T was trying to take any job he possibly could because he was broke.
Poor Mr. T.
And then Schmeigel, of course, wrote for Conan O'Brien and created my favorite character, Triumph the Insult Comic Dog.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
For me to poop on.
It was May 2010 when Conan did his Legally Prohibited from Being on Television tour. I saw it in Sacramento.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Triumph wasn't there live. It was on video, but still I did get to touch Conan O'Brien's shoulder.
Nice.
He ran, they had a song at the end of the show, and he ran through the audience, and I was like, oh my God.
Surprised you didn't catch on fire.
We'll wash this. And 2 weeks later. No.
Yeah.
So I have one to bring up because we haven't mentioned any stop motion cartoons that came out.
Ooh.
So there's Robot Chicken.
Totally.
But then also, did you guys ever watch the show The PJs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Eddie Murphy, man.
Was Eddie Murphy and Larry Wilmore. They created that show, and I thought that was such a good, well done show. Short-lived, but it was really, really good.
Yeah.
Wallace and Gromit. Futurama was awesome.
Futurama.
Yeah. Simpsons creator Matt Jordan.
Grating.
Grating?
Grating.
Oh, I don't know how to say it.
Portland native.
I remember when that Futurama first came out, I didn't really like it.
I loved it.
I thought it was stupid. And then I watched a couple episodes because my friend was obsessed with it, and I was just okay, I'll give it a chance. And then I started watching it slowly, and I was just okay, this is not that bad.
For me, it was those DVD movies that they did before they came back to Comedy Central that really gave me an appreciation for the show.
Yeah.
But Bending Rodriguez.
Bender.
Like when they brought it back to Comedy Central, how he had to keep on dancing, otherwise the world would explode.
Yeah, because they put the
bite my shiny metal ass. I will say I'm not as big of a fan of it as I am of Simpsons or other ones out there, but it's one of those deals that if it's on, you're going to watch it. So it's fun.
I had this 4th grade teacher, and he was really into animation, and he got me into shows like The Simpsons and stuff like that. But he also got me into a show called Wallace and Gromit, the weird claymation series with the dog and the British guy who likes cheese.
Didn't it start off as a movie first, and then
they did videos?
Yeah.
So they had these weird things where it was this killer sheep. And then he had robot pants, and they wanted to go to the moon because it was made of cheese. Mm-hmm. And then they did a movie called Chicken Run.
Yeah, that's the movie I was thinking about, Chicken Run.
Yeah, and then they had a relatively newer movie called Pirates. It was a weird claymation movie. They have a new one coming out, and it's called Stone Age. And that actually looks really cool. Because
I saw the trailer for that.
Stone Age meets the Bronze Age. Yeah.
I'm so fascinated by stop motion because the amount of energy that they put into that.
Yeah.
I would lose my patience so quick.
Totally.
But they are just so patient with it. Especially if you watch how they make episodes of Robot Chicken.
Yeah.
and
Oh
they're
my God.
still able to keep up with it and,
Yeah.
and release shows. I'm just like, holy crap, it takes them forever.
So I got the first 3 seasons of Robot Chicken on DVD, and I loved listening to the behind the scenes because they were just like, fuck this part. Fuck this part. Do you know how we did that? Fuck that. And it's just like, what?
Well, speaking of Robot Chicken, though, I love the on Family Guy, the Star Wars specials that they did where they would have like a minute where they just goofed on Robot Chicken.
Oh, totally.
Yes.
How does it feel to be on network television for
You, Dad.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I love that.
What is this, Iraq?
But Seth Green did create another show for the WWE network, Camp WWE, a cartoon.
What?
Yeah, a mature rated cartoon. Vince,
Is this different from Celebrity Deathmatch?
Ooh, Celebrity Deathmatch.
no, it's Vince McMahon played by himself. It runs a camp called Camp WWE. The kids in the camp are kid versions of big time wrestlers. So, like the first episode is John Cena gets homesick, cries, and wants to leave, and the camp counselors Triple H and Stephanie have to try and stop him. And then you have Ric Flair guesting throughout the show, and he's going out and showing everybody his cock throughout the show.
What?
And he's having sex with anything.
How would I not see this show?
You got to get the WWE Network.
Oh, God.
It's pretty funny. It's not going to last like Robot Chicken or anything like that. They only did the 1 season and everything, but it's definitely something to check out. Another one that's on Netflix came out recently, but I like Brickleberry.
Brickleberry? Yeah, that was on Comedy Central.
After Tosh Point Out.
Daniel Tosh voiced the bear on that show. It was funny, but I just couldn't get into
I
it.
think Daniel Tosh is so fucking irritating.
Yeah.
I cannot stand him.
He's the guy who pushes the envelope just to, like, the envelope needs to be pushed. Like, it does sometimes. And he does it. He does an excellent job of doing it, but he's not. His show, Tosh Point Oh, is great because he's just like, let me watch these people do dumb shit and make fun of them.
Yeah.
But it's a big miss for me. Like, I don't hate the guy because he is a good comedian, but it's just not always mine.
Terrible comedian, terrible show. Ugh.
Yeah.
I'm just a hateful, vengeful bastard, so seeing people do that to each other,
Speaking of comedians who had their own show, did you ever watch the series Life with Louie? That was fucking hilarious.
Was he jerking off in front of
No. So it was Louie Anderson talking about times.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, wow. No, it was Louie Anderson. He animated. Oh, God. I'm not even going to talk about it anymore. Fuck. It was a weirdly wholesome show about a fat kid, and it was really funny.
Yeah, that was at the time that he was still trying to convince people that he was not gay, too. So,
Is he gay?
oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Oh.
it doesn't matter either way.
Yeah.
But when that show came out, it was still quote unquote important for celebrities to, be in the closet or whatever.
Gotcha. I just thought it was funny because
Yeah.
he's like, I'm going to try out for the baseball team. I'm fat.
Tiny Toon Adventures, Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain. We didn't really go in depth in that. I think that
Steven
was
Spielberg's like homage to cartoons.
Also, I feel like we should honorable mention Doug and Rocco's Modern Life.
Yeah, Rocco's Modern Life apparently is getting its revival, which will be awesome.
Did you see the trailer?
Yeah.
It is so funny.
And Rocco is one of it's like an NFL. Head coaches have their coaching trees and assistant coaches that went on to do their own things.
Totally.
Rocco's Modern Life did spawn SpongeBob, and I believe Seth MacFarlane may have worked on that.
He had a hand in it. There's a lot of like guest writing for that show, which was interesting, and then you had a lot of guest voice appearances.
Next on Doug, Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, right. But you brought up like Pinky and the Brain and Animaniacs and like all Freakazoid. I don't know if you remember Freakazoid.
Freakazoid was
Didn't
good.
see that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
that one
good.
was really, really
one
good.
voice talent that I absolutely love on that show, Maurice LaMarche.
Yeah.
the brain with his Orson Welles impression through. But that guy's a genius, and he's another one of the vocal legends. I mean, he's on everything.
I learned the nations of the world. I learned the states and their capitals, and I learned the lobes of the brains because of Animaniacs. Like, no fucking joke. I love that show because they also did a weird series later on called Hysteria.
Yeah,
and it was Drunk History before Drunk History was around. But it's a great series, and I loved all the adult humor that like slid through. You know, like Yakko's like, I want to subpoena the witness. I want to subpoena the witness, and he's like, you talk to your mother with that mouth? And oh my god! And then they would always say he would always say good night everybody when they would say like almost risque stuff. And I didn't really get it at first, and my dad's like laughing in the corner, and then I come back and watch it when I'm like 20.
Oh, but there's another one on Animaniacs here. It's like, dust for Prince. I found Prince.
Yeah.
And,
Fingerprints.
Fingerprints. And then Dot looks at Prince, and I don't think so.
Good night, everybody.
I'm so embarrassed. There's so many cartoons that we are missing,
like
guys.
What do you think?
Oh my god. Okay, so I just looked it up, and my all-time favorite cartoon when I was growing up was All Real Monsters.
Also good.
That one was super good.
Recess.
I
loved Recess.
Pamela Adlon, who did the voice of Bobby Hill, was also on that show.
Yeah.
And that's when I first saw it for the first time on the Louis show.
Yeah, she got her own series on HBO or something like
on
that.
FX as well, but with the whole Spankgate deal. That show was dropped, unfortunately.
And then there's also Rocket Power that came on.
Yeah, one of the first Hawaiian depictions on TV.
Exactly, yeah. Then there's The Wild Thornberrys.
I was never big on that show, but I like the premise of just being able to talk to animals.
Exactly, yeah. I thought that was really, really fun.
The dad's face creeped me out.
Bobby's World.
Bobby's World.
Yeah, Bobby's
oh
World
my
was
god, another show.
Yeah.
He did the voice of all the characters on that show. Did you realize that?
I don't necessarily know all the characters. I think they had female characters on.
Yeah, he did the voices of the characters. The sister, the brother, the uncle, the mom, the dad, all of them. Howie, right? Howie
Mandel,
yeah. Great show. Captain Squash, the spider. I forget the spider's name.
Well, Marvel had some good shows. The X-Men, that was on.
Oh man, classic.
Yeah, and they had the Spider-Man show, which was okay.
I liked it. Venom. That rendition of Venom was probably the best rendition of Venom ever because it was a weird depiction of black. So you had like black with this blue and red tint, so you could see it. But then they had this weird alien symbiote that would like hang on to this dude, and it was weird because he would like open his mouth and show his face, and they almost touched on like addiction because he was like addicted to the symbiote, and then they had Carnage on the series as well because like, hey, how do we introduce this character? Like, he's a serial killer.
We'll throw up some list here from
Fantastic Four.
What I got from
Pepper
Facebook.
Ann.
Pepper Ann.
Pepper Ann was
God.
a really, really good one.
From Facebook. Gargoyles.
I hated that one. Oh my god. It's so boring.
It was very slow, and it was more like mystery than like action. But I just like that they were named after all the boroughs. You had Brooklyn and like the big dude never even named himself. That was super funny.
The Critic, which John Lovitz.
I hated that show.
I loved it.
The weird wiggling it made me.
It stinks. I mean, John Lovitz.
That would be the same as Home Movies then too, because Home Movies was also done in the similar animation style where like
kind of
the like
weird.
Wiggly,
I love that. Yeah. That show was really well done though because it was funny.
There's also Inspector Gadget.
Yeah,
that started in the 80s. So.
Well, it still went on to the 90s too, so it's like one of those. Yeah, it's one of those like.
Missed it by that much.
Yeah.
Don Adams, though, genius. If you ever get a chance, there's a show he did in the 60s that was created by Mel Brooks. Get Smart.
Oh yeah. Wonderful show.
Yeah.
I was always impressed with the guy who did the voice for Claw. And his ability
I will catch you next time, catch it.
I had no idea how he got his voice that
Probably
low.
hurt his voice.
Yeah. Well, no, that was the other thing too. They had him on Robot Chicken because they couldn't do his voice, so they invited him onto the show. And Seth Green was like, "How the hell do you do that?" And he's like, he literally has water in his throat when he's doing it. He literally has this giant jug of water, drinks it, and then gets his voice really, really low.
Yeah. And Inspector Gadget was pretty good. Just, anyway, I think we're about...
I always wanted to be a voice actor because of cartoons, and I always thought that was like the coolest thing ever, and I got really weird into impressions, and I loved cartoons growing up, man.
I had thoughts of it, but then I hear myself on the podcast here with all my stammering and hemming and hawing. You know,
I've got my weird lisp with my S's. Yeah.
And another thing, but I think we've got a decent amount here.
Yeah,
We almost have 2 hours.
Yeah, we missed hella stuff though too.
We might have to do a second.
There's there's not real. There's like the little peppered in ones that like you can mention, like Muppet Babies.
Muppet Babies was
We did
great.
that.
Winnie the Pooh.
Maura and I did that.
Ooh,
Oh, really?
Winnie the Pooh was
And
awesome.
Maura laughed at me.
High School X. Did you ever watch that show? Mm-hmm. Oh man, that was good.
And there's like the Addams Family, that one too.
Yeah.
That one came out in
Scooby-Doo.
92. Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo and the Harlem Globetrotters.
Scooby-Doo meets kids.
Oh man.
Sonic the Hedgehog. Like there's so much.
Mega Man.
Yeah.
I loved Mega Man the cartoon series, and I loved how they crossed in Mega Man X.
Yep.
That was a really great series.
So many cartoons. 90s cartoons.
And hey, we've done this for over 6 months now. We can always come back to this at any other time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think we might just have to do an episode of like video game movies / TV shows and how shitty they usually are.
And be depressed the whole time.
Yeah.
And just cry about it.
Sons of bitches. But anyway, I think that's a wrap for this episode. So thanks to everybody for listening again. Remember to subscribe to the podcast and tell your friends about it. We want to build the audience. The only way it's going to do that is if you actually tell people about it, share links on social media and all that stuff. We want to get the word out.
Like, subscribe, and leave us a recommendation. Yeah.
Or leave your favorite animation, 90s cartoon or otherwise.
Yep.
And rate the show. I mean, if you rate the show, we get more views.
Yeah, what we really need to do, get a Patreon page.
Patreon page?
Are you familiar with Patreon?
I am.
Yeah, I mean, because we're not going to be paying the bills with a Patreon page.
No.
But imagine $20, what that would do. We could buy a movie.
Buy pizza.
Or I don't have to buy pizza here.
Buy pizza!
So,
Radical, dude.
gnarly. But with that, we will see you all next week. So, Sterling, Ryan, got anything to say before we say goodbye?
Bye.
Enjoy being nerdy.
Yeah.
And we will have you on in another 6 months.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
And with that, another episode of Friends Talking Nerdy is in the books. This is Tim Jousma. We do have a special guest here right now, but the person we're going to talk to, tell the folks at home your name.
Luke Jousma.
Really? Oh my God! I know this kid named Luke. Yeah. How did you get in my house?
I try to rob you.
Well, you're not very good at it, are you? Really? Oh, now you want to laugh? You want to come in my house, steal my food, and then now you laugh at me? Now you're laughing even more, huh? Why? Why are you laughing? Don't laugh. Don't laugh. Who do you think you are laughing? Right? You're sitting there holding a Mario puppet, and you want to laugh at me? Come on, what really? Why do you want to laugh at me? Guess what we're going to do? I'm going to put on Mr. Hanky episodes, and we'll watch that on repeat all night. Do you want to watch Mr. Hanky episodes on repeat?
No.
Why not? You don't want to see a talking poo singing and dancing and kissing children on the cheek, and then here's a game I like to play. Stick me in your mouth and try to say howdy ho ho yum yum yum. Christmas time has come.
I'd really like to watch the full episode, but not repeat.
What, do you want your mother hearing that? She's going to hear this episode and she's going to be like, Luke, what are you doing? You can't listen to that. That's something your daddy would listen to, and you can't listen to that.
Yeah, but she's a zillion times more loud than that.
I will leave it at that. I probably got in trouble myself with that impression. I'm sure Luke's going to get in a lot more trouble with that impression. So tell the folks here what you think of the show. Do you like my show?
Yeah.
Why?
90's cartoons episodes. It's good.
You have nothing more to say about that? Do you think I was funny?
Yeah.
How was I funny?
You just told jokes.
How about Sterling saying everybody who watched Calliou was a whiny little bitch? Do you agree with him?
No.
You don't agree with him?
I don't.
Now, you watched Calliou as a kid. Did you turn into a whiny little bitch?
No.
So what do you have to say to Sterling? If Sterling were here right now and you were looking at him, what would you say?
How dare you insult and ruin my childhood?
Do you hear that, Sterling? This 11-year-old boy, soon to be 12, who I'm sure has a multitude of girlfriends at his school right now. Don't be humble. Oh my God, that's all you've been talking about. Like, all these girls won't leave me alone, Dad. They're like all over me and stuff, and I'm like, go away, girls. I just want to enjoy being a little boy for a few months longer. Then I'll be your honey bunny. I'll be whatever you want. That's true, right? Thank you for that. So how many girlfriends do you have? If you have more than 10, blink really fast. Oh my God, folks, he's blinking really fast. Anyway, you gonna listen to another episode?
Yeah, of course.
Why?
Because you made me.
Go fuck yourself. Anyway, with that 90s episode, the 90s cartoon is done. Feel free to subscribe to our podcast and hear the latest episodes. Next week are going to be episode 26, and we hope you enjoy. Say goodbye to the folks at home, Luke.
Goodbye.
Do you have anything to say? Any words of wisdom to the folks out there? Or one more thing you want to say to Sterling? If he were here right now, he made you so mad. What are you going to say to him?
How dare you, Sterling? I didn't even meet you yet.
And he made fun of you by calling you a whiny little bitch. What are you going to say to him then now? Are you going to get in his face and go, who do you think you are?
Yeah, I would totally do that.
All right. So you better watch out, Sterling. You got an 11-year-old boy who's mad at you, and he's gonna find you, and he's going to call you a poopy head. Ain't that right?
Yeah.
Call him that now.
Sterling, you're a poopy head.
There you go. All right. Thank you for listening. We will see you next week.
Oh, well, everybody's heard about the bird.
Oh my God, this is Surfing Bird by the Trashmen. This is my favorite song of all time. Oh, well, a bird, bird, bird. But bird's a word. Oh, well, a bird, bird, bird. Well, a bird is a word. Oh, well, a bird, bird. But bird's a word. Oh, well, a bird, bird, bird. But bird's a word. Oh, well, a bird, bird, bird. Well, a bird is a word. Chris, don't you know about the bird? Make everybody knows that the bird is the word. Oh, well, a bird, bird, bird. The bird is the word. Hey, guy behind the counter. The bird is the word. Hey, frightened little child. The bird is the word. Lady on the toilet. The bird is the word. Hey, don't you know about the bird?
Sure, everybody knows that the bird is the word.
Oh, well, a bird, bird. But bird's a word. Oh, well, a bird. Again, I love repetition.